if you know me, you'd know that I'm not someone who is all that familiar with soccer. What I can say is that I do know that the United States will play the Netherlands tomorrow in the elimination stage of the World Cup. The game begins at 9 o'clock Central Time. I'm not that excited for it because I'm assuming the U.S. is going to lose. I guess there's a case of the flu going around on the Dutch soccer team. I don't know a damn thing, though, about them other than that. I think they were in the final a couple of World Cups ago. They wear orange. That's neat. They helped us fight in the Revolutionary War. We'll see what happens. But you might be thinking to yourself, hey, what the fuck are the Netherlands? And I'm going to tell you what the Netherlands are today. I actually did a little bit of research. If you don't know, I'm a giant nerd when it comes to history. And I thought, let's figure out how the Netherlands came to be. First off, Largobot says slave traders. Not wrong, but we're not going to get to that part. Here are the Netherlands on a map, in case you didn't know. So you see, there's England to the east. It's north of Belgium. There's France right there. It is northwest of Germany. You can see Denmark right there. And here is a closer map of the Netherlands, also known as Holland. So Amsterdam's right here. The Hague, which you've probably heard of, is here. Rotterdam, I know that was a significant place during World War II. You've got Utrecht. Anything else that I recognize off the top of my head? No. Yeah, I don't recognize any of this stuff. But that's the Netherlands. It's also been called Holland before. That's towards Amsterdam. That's also where Rotterdam is, Europe's largest port and the seat of government right there. So this area right here, which I'm moving around the cursor if you're watching it, that is Holland. Well, how did Holland or the Netherlands come to be? So here's how it started. In the 1100s, there were some farmers from Flanders and Utrecht. You saw that on the map, who began draining and cultivating swampy land in the western Netherlands. And then all of a sudden, the county of Holland became a thing. Let's fast forward about 250 years or so. There was a series of wars starting in 1350. It was called the Hook and Cod Wars. This wasn't some sort of weird fisherman battle. This was a battle between literal hooks and cods. These were two factions and a war that lasted nearly 150 years as various areas throughout the Netherlands, or the lowlands, were fighting for the title of the Count of Holland. So there were beheadings, imprisoned rulers who were insane, all sorts of fun stuff. Until Philip the Good, the Duke of Burgundy, who was a cod, if you cared, united all of these areas in 1433. And this is where the idea of the Dutch as a nationality began. Philip had a son. Philip's son was named Charles the Good. He's a Burgundian duke. He conquered more and more lands for this Burgundian state, but then he died in battle, the Battle of Nancy in 1477. And this led to all sorts of shit. His daughter, Mary the Rich, inherited his lands at the age of 19. And she was a little freaked out by all the French nearby, so she married in to the most powerful house, probably in European history, the Habsburg house. She married the Holy Roman Emperor of the time, which means basically the king of Germany, Austria, and Italy, Maximilian. Super powerful dude. And this Habsburg house is a house straight out of Game of Thrones. From the 1400s through the 1800s, they had kings in Bohemia, Hungary, Croatia, You hear about the time I went on Yacht Week in Croatia. Spain, Portugal, rulers in Italy, rulers in the Low Countries, and emperors in Austria, and even fucking Mexico. And as Largobot points out, yes, they had a very pronounced underbite, which was likely the result of inbreeding. A perfect Game of Thrones house. Oh, do you want to see this underbite? Okay. Here is one of the underbites. This is Charles II. Jesus, that man is disgusting. It ain't good. Inbreeding, bad. Even if your family does rule all of the countries of Europe, try not to fuck your sister or your cousin. The Habsburg jaw. It's gross. Anyway, the Habsburg were France's archrival for the longest time. Mary the Rich inherits all of these lands, the lowlands. And she goes out on a falconing hunt in 1482. She falls off her horse, breaks her back, dies. That's it. So her son, Philip the Handsome, inherited all of those lands. You want to see what Philip the Handsome looked like? Here is Philip the Handsome. It is subjective as to how handsome he actually is. If you're watching on twitch.tv/Galat says or youtube.com/Paul Galat. So, Philip died in 1506 of either typhoid fever or a plague. But there were some people, specifically his wife, who thought that he was poisoned by the Habsburgs' arch rivals, the French. At one point, the Holy Roman Emperor, Maximilian, said, yo, King Louis XII poisoned Philip. What the fuck? This is bullshit. But nothing was done about it. So, Philip the Handsome is dead. His wife refuses to allow his body to be buried for a while, so it's just there, hanging out in the open. And as you saw, imagine this person, older and dead, decaying. A little gross. So, Philip had a son. Philip's son is Charles, who would eventually become Charles V. So, he inherits the title of Duke of Burgundy, which is essentially the leader of the Netherlands region. He gets that in 1506. 1516, he becomes King of Spain, right before Spain's about to become the most powerful country in Europe. And he becomes Holy Roman Emperor in 1519. So he was the ruler at one point of Germany, Italy, Austria, Spain, and the Netherlands all at once. And he did it just by being born and having his daddy die. That's it. That's all it took. So he rules over the Netherlands and all of those areas for a while. And for a picture of Charles V, let's go to the Twitch. This was young Charles V. As you can see, the underbite is certainly happening there. Here is a picture of the older Charles V. This person was a little more flattering with the whole underbite thing. Anyway, and there we go. That's Charles II. Charles II, yikes, bro. You got to clean that shit up. So, let's fast forward. 1566, Charles V dies. And the Netherlands were pretty loyal to Charles while he was in power. But his son, Philip II, who grew up in the Netherlands, was a dick, at least by the Netherlands' opinion. He pissed them off by demanding absolute control over them, despite being 2 weeks away via horse ride. He levied a lot of high taxes because Spain was constantly defaulting. I guess they defaulted 5 times over the course of his reign, which is considered to be the golden age of Spain. And he was relentless when it came to persecuting Protestants. The Protestant Reformation started earlier that century in 1521. And the Netherlands, as they are now called, at the time was a very Protestant area. So imagine you've got this king ruling from 2 weeks away, and he's also persecuting everybody that has the same religion in the area. I mean, Philip was so crazy about restoring Catholicism everywhere that he tried to invade England in 1588 with the Spanish Armada. So, to wrap everything up, Philip II, who the people of the Netherlands thought was a dick, caused a revolt that was the 80 Years' War. And in 1648, Spain formally recognized the Dutch Republic as an independent country. How about that? Did you like that history lesson? It's kind of difficult to keep tabs on all of the names. I got lost a little bit earlier trying to go from Philip to Charles the Good to Charles the Good's daughter Mary to Mary's son Philip the Handsome to Charles V to Philip II. But there you go.